Hello, welcome back. My name's Dan. I hope you know that already. But no, I actually hope you don't. I hope I've got some newcomers. Boy, every time I get on camera, my nose itches. This must be psychosomatic. Pardon me. There. Woo! Too much information, I know. I'm going to do a Santa on aluminum. I've done this one time before in my life, last year, and I've painted a grand total of 2 paintings on aluminum. So this is very much in the experimental stage. Now, last year, I don't know what struck me to do a painting of Santa. It was actually, I had to do a live event painting at a holiday Christmas festival. And at the last minute, I said, let's do a portrait of Santa. So I found something online and went out and printed it, had a good time. You can actually find that painting on my website, dannelsonart.com. That's dannelsonart.com. And you can go to the portrait page, and the Santa on aluminum is right there. Now, since then, just in the last week or so, I've discovered that doing portraits of Santa is actually quite the thing. First of all, I found my friend, he doesn't know me, but my friend Jeff Watts from Watts Atelier, found him doing a live painting of Santa on canvas, not on aluminum. And then one of his proteges, a woman named, oh, good grief, Gist. Meadow, there you go, Meadow Gist. What a great name, beautiful name. Meadow, if you ever see that. Did you make that up? That is a great name. Meadow Gist, I think from what I can tell, is one of Jeff Watts's students, proteges. And she and her husband are both artists. Wow, what a combination. There's one of her Santas. Lovely, beautiful, nice job. Here's another one of her Santas. She's evidently tries to do one every year, and here's another one. So those are 3 paintings by a delightful young woman artist named Meadow Gist. But she is being influenced by, and Jeff Watts, both are being influenced by the grandpapa of all Santa painters. Now, I didn't realize this till last year. I didn't realize there was the man for painting Santa from 1931 to 1967, I think. His name is Harold. I'm going to say it this way, Sundblom. Now here's my Sundblom, or Sundblom. And I think it's Sundblom because it's a Swedish name, and he's grew up in Muskegon, Michigan, and I spent several years of my life in Muskegon, Michigan. So that's unless you know him personally, if you do, please tell me how he pronounced his name. But having lived among the Swedes for many years, I think he would pronounce his name Sundblom. Okay. We can start a little online argument. Okay, the reason Harold Sundblom is so famous as the painter of Santa is because he did the Coca-Cola Santas from 1931 until 1960 or 70 something. I think it's 60. These 2 are actually the same painting. This is just a close-up. And he's the man in America more responsible than any other person for what we picture when we think of Santa Claus. Okay? So even though Meadow Gist's paintings of Santa are lovely, I'm going to copy, I think, a little bit more one of Harold Sundblom's. And I think, I'm just making the decision right now, I think I'm going to go with, this is the same painting, one's just a blow up. So let me grab some tape over here in my handy-dandy miscellaneous tool drawer. Let me tape this up here real quick. And let's see if we can have some fun. Now, obviously, doing a painting of Santa is just fun. Nobody's paying me to do this, but you may buy this painting if you like. Just put a comment. I'll probably let it go for $200. Or I could just make it an auction. I don't know. If you have $200 or best offer, there you go. So it can go either way. And I'm painting on aluminum. Let's see what I can do here. Now, again, I'm not an expert by any means. It was David Dunlop, my friend, who is a friend. David Dunlop has influenced me somewhat in this paint on metal kind of thing. Now, even though I've only done 2 complete paintings in my life on aluminum, I have opinions on the subject already. Now, does that surprise you, really? Does it surprise you that I have opinions on the subject? Well, I do, not simply because I want to paint on aluminum, but because I've seen other people paint on aluminum, and this has influenced my feelings on the subject. Okay, so here's my opinions on the subject. I say, what's the use of painting on aluminum if you don't allow some of the metallic aluminum to show through? I know people who get aluminum, gesso the whole thing, and paint on top of the gesso. Then it's no different, in my opinion, no different from painting on a masonite panel. And masonite panel, I would think, would be easier in a number of respects. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. If you like to paint on aluminum and completely obliterate the aluminum, you have complete permission to do that. Permission granted. I'm sure that makes your day. You can paint on aluminum any way you want to. But my feeling is, dang, you've got this fascinating, lustrous, metallic thing happening on here. Why ruin it? Why cover it up? So I want to take advantage. And again, if you look at the painting I did last year, you will see me, in fact, doing that. The portrait I did of Santa, yes, has little bits of it. It creates a fascinating luminescence. Can I use that word? Of course I can use any word I want, but I mean, does it make sense? A fascinating luminosity, there we go, it's a better word, when you allow the metal, the shininess of the metal to show through. And that's what I did on last year's Santa. Now, the bad part of the luminescence is it doesn't really show up. Like if you go to go to my website, dannelsonart.com, and go to portraits and see my Santa, you can't really see the luminescence because it's a static shot. It shows up in real life when you're looking at the picture like this. When you're moving around, you get this, again, I think it's a fascinating interplay of light and shade. Now I think, just at this last second, I just decided, okay, how about this? I'm definitely not going to put a Coca-Cola bottle in Santa's hand, but I am going to put something. I'm trying to decide what. Something, and I'm putting his hand over here on the other side. I could put a pencil as if he's got a list and he's checking it twice. How would that be? I could put the part of his list down here and put IST, because then he's reading the back of it. Why do you do that? I'm not sure I like that idea. I could put a sprig of holly. I could put a bottle of wine. Jack Daniels. Let's ruin Santa here. Let's just really ruin him. The truth behind Santa. How does he stay awake all night? Or I could put his bag slung over his shoulder. Or reins. I'm not sure. I'll think about that later, I believe. But let me go ahead and try to get... hang on, my music's a little bit too loud, isn't it? I don't know if you can hear that or not. By the way, if you can hear that, that music is by my good, dear friend, ex-friend, because he passed away, Gintas Abarius, A-B-A-R-I-U-S, Gintas Abarius, world-class jazz and classical pianist who spent the last several years of his life right here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I actually got to play with him several times. One of the absolute highlights of my musical life was playing with him. Kind of funny. I know you guys, my YouTube friends, you don't even know that I play anything, and you've never heard me. That will change. One of these days, I'm going to play on my YouTube. It's just never been the right time yet. What do I play, you say? Well, my main instrument is trumpet and flugelhorn. I play just enough guitar, classical mostly, just enough to be dangerous. I play a pretty fun flute, Celtic whistle, penny whistle, Irish whistle, tin whistle. Those are all the same thing. I play a pretty good blues harp. Of course, it's relative, right? By the way, somebody when you play harmonica, which if you play harmonica, that means you're playing. Sorry, a little bit of music snobbery there. You're playing what is called straight harp. You're playing major tonalities tunes. If you're playing blues harp, you're playing you're playing blues, and that's the difference. It's called cross harp. It's called blues harp, and most good harmonica players play cross harp. And then somebody will say, kind of like the Bob Ross, when you're an artist, like Bob Ross. And if somebody says that to me in the street, I usually flash them a wry smile. My wry smile. And I say, in his dreams. Anyway, the same thing happens. We got the same thing going on when you say you play a blues harp. Somebody will say, you mean like Bob Dylan? The parallel is the same. In his dreams. Somebody on some blog somewhere recently, some smart aleck musician said, I like Bob Dylan. In fact, I calligraphied one of his songs just last week. I like Bob Dylan, don't take me wrong. But was he a good harmonica player? Are you kidding? So, as somebody said, he set the harmonica back decades because he was so bad. He was so bad on harmonica. He was. I don't know if you know that or not. Bob Dylan was a complete embarrassment to the world of harmonica players, but he's the most famous of all of them. So that's the way it goes. Just like Bob, what's his name? That I just said a minute ago, right? The guy with the hair, Bob Ross. Two Bobs. I'm getting all my Bob Dylan and Bob Ross. Maybe there's something about the name Bob. Forgive me, I got to say something while I'm drawing, don't I? No, the fact is I do not need to say anything, is what some of you are saying. No, shut up. We'd rather, well, you guys want me to shut up. You've already left. I know you left this channel long ago. That's the beauty of YouTube, isn't it? You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You're gone in a heartbeat. Gone in a New York second, as they say. Okay, but what am I doing here? I'm using mostly almost paint straight out of the tube, almost a tiny bit of liquid added to it. But my experience so far in painting on aluminum is you really do want it to stick. You really want the paint to stick to the aluminum. And it is not like painting on canvas. Isn't it amazing how my mind goes blank at the most ridiculous times when I'm painting and talking at the same time? It is. So you can see what I'm doing here basically is doing a very thin underpainting. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I'm having my doubts. No, there must have been a little bit too much stuff still left on this brush. It's taking off more than it is. Still is taking off more than I wanted. Okay, forget that. Whoops, I'm getting a phone call. Let me take just a minute to call my wife back, and I'll be with you guys back in a few minutes. Thanks for watching.